Okay, so this is a video on my first experience with tile and doing a tile job. So me and my roommate, we did a tile backsplash, which is probably the easiest tile job you can do. So I would totally recommend a backsplash if you're first doing tile. But there are three big things we learned when doing this for the first time. So one is we bought this pretty cheap tile from like a wholesale home goods store, and it had a bunch of residue, like the boxes were a little bit wet. So just make sure to check your tile before you start your job. If you buy it from some Facebook Marketplace or whatever, Lowe's, just make sure you check it out and make sure it doesn't have any residue, because this had residue on it from the tile sitting on top of it. And what happened is when we went to use the float and put our grout on, all that grout stuck to those marks where that tile was sitting on top of it. So make sure you have clean tile. That'll help your grout process a lot. And then second, one thing we did is it's known that back buttering is good for tiles, but we would sometimes put on too much. So we'd put on a bunch. We want to make sure we have good cohesion, good bond with the tiles, which is a good thing, but can also be a bad thing too. And what I would do is just get your trowel and just get consistent mortar on the wall. Consistent mortar, and then these should stick fine, but we would kind of do a patchy mortar job and then back butter these. And what happened is all these tiles, when you look down the wall, were some were kicking out, they were a little uneven. And what happens is when you go to grout, when you use your float and you go to grout the whole thing, you're just not able to rub it out as well, because that grout wants to sit in those pockets that are lower. So if all the tiles are super even, then you can get your float and you can run it flat and clean up all that grout. But what we were seeing is we were doing that and a bunch of grout was left on the tile. And then third was use the proper mix ratio when it comes to grout, because we just kind of mixed it by eye. And what happened is it came out way too dry and really hard to work with. And then when we got our sponge, it was kind of coming apart in some places. It was super dry and flaky. So make sure you have the proper mix ratio for grout. And that's about it. But definitely get out there and try these projects and have fun. So that's all I got.